Hi, this is Suzanne in Ohio. I have a project to share with you today. I think I'm delighted with this little project. I kind of thought it up as I went along, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Well, here's the story behind it. I created two companion journals that apply to field notes, nature things. And then I thought, a second thought was, well, these need something to travel in. And I first thought of making a little fabric bag of some kind, and then I decided on this idea of making this satchel out of paper. So this thing is made out of file folders. They had previously been coffee stained, and then I inked them up, distressed the edges, and then inked them up, and then did a lot of sewing on the sewing machine. So within this satchel is several things pertaining to field notes, field note guides, such a thing like that. This is done in a totally grungy style. I just love it. I tried to keep it as true to what it would look like if it was old and well used. It's not foo-foo-y at all, although it's so delightful. I'm sure ladies would like it, but it's also appropriate for a man if that would interest anybody. So the first two, let me show you first. This is the front. I fashioned this belt with the loops and everything just to reinforce the whole construction, although I had no fear that it was going to come apart, but it added some elements of interest, and it just looks like an old worn leather or canvas bag. Now these handles are truly canvas, real heavy canvas too, awning canvas. So when you turn this over, you can see the back, just pretty much like the front. And on the front and the back are two pockets. So we'll come back to that in a minute. But I also hung off the edge these little vial, specimen vial bottles, blank labels so that you can fill it in to your liking, some little tags, and on this side, another little vial bottle and a square tag. So let's turn this back over, and here you have it. And you see this thing sticking out. This is your, let me get it back in frame. This is your butterfly net. Very old and grungy, almost like it's been repaired a couple times and coffee stained to match everything else. So I'm going to lay that aside. And then in this pocket, I just included a packet of a lot of papers and extra things that came with some of the digital kit that I had used inside the journal. You'll see more of this inside, so I don't really need to take that out and show you. But over here on this side, back here, this pocket houses a little file folder that has a watercolor paper in it. I made a little side tuck spot. You can use, because, excuse me, you can use that for your watercolor paper, sketch paper. Now, all these elements, pardon me, you have to have these if you're a true field find aficionado, because you would draw your little sketches or start your watercolor sketch out in the field once you found your specimen. On the front are two little pockets, and they just house some extra papers, all distressed and coffee dyed, and that's just your part of your supplies. So I'm going to put that back in here, and then I'll stand this up and show you. Here's the two journals down inside. Well, I'm making a big mess here, aren't I? Okay, the two journals, they are companion journals, but each one of them does something different. So I'm going to take these out of here, and then I'll show you each one of these individually. So what you have here is an actual journal, and highly embellished, I think, with all nature things. And then this is your Field Finds Keeper folder. So let's lay this aside, and I'll show you the actual journal. And now that I don't have to be on such a big screen, I'll take you down just a little bit closer. Now I do have the autofocus on, so I couldn't tell which was better. I don't know. That autofocus on my setup tends to vibrate a little bit when you move. If it's not working out right, I'm going to, I'll switch it back. So a little glassine window here, a tag, the information about the science drawing. Here's your little science drawing, just a wing study of a buckeye butterfly. That slides in there. And then more information about the buckeye and a bird feathers, all nature related. So when you open it up, a little file folder pocket, and then in this side, a very large tag with a pocket. It also has a nature drawing on it of a hawk moth, just a study of the wings and the color. Teeny weeny little notebook of sorts, little scrappy papers in there. And then tag made out of an eco print and the name of the plant. Everything pretty much in this notebook is titled because it is a field finds notebook or field study, and so you'd want to get your specimen and then label it so you can tell what it is. This was a chameleon plant, grows around ponds and lilies, very invasive. I'm just adding that. And so let's put this large tag back. Now, I'll tell you about the images that I've used. They'll all be listed below because I'm afraid if I try to tell you right now, I'll get somebody's name wrong. But any of these images from the Etsy sellers that I purchased as digital downloads, I'll name them below. So this is a beautiful nature print here. And see, I can't right this second remember who it is, but I'll list it below. Okay, a snippet from a dictionary talking about fungi, and now I do know that's Artymaze, her series of mushrooms and ferns. You'll see a lot of those in here. Here's one of my eco dyed prints. These backgrounds were just a delightful find for me. It's called Studio on the Corner. I do remember that. And she had 5 pages that were called field notes. And they just made a fabulous background here. Okay, here's one of my original watercolors printed on vellum. And it was of rudbeckias. And I labeled it. And a little specimen. This is from TheBooksmith, and I wasn't exactly sure what flower that was, but it's so close to milk vetch, and milk vetch is poisonous, so I put a tag on there. Warning tag, I should say. Okay, in this pocket, a nice grungy tag, a toad, tuck spot, writing space, embossed. And this is one of those papers you can sand across the top of it and remove some of the color. So I did that, but it's mostly just a writing tag right there. Another one of those beautiful field notes papers from Studio on the Corner. And then when you open it up, one of my eco prints is printed on the back. Here's a little envelope. I've been making these framed window envelopes, and this is just simply made with the windows out of your junk mail, and then I cut my own space and left some as a border, and that makes a beautiful little windowed envelope. It's empty. Put in there whatever you'd like. Another gorgeous print Um, and then a paper bag, another nature print, or the embossing. On this one, I put a little pocket on the back. This was one of my original watercolors. It is in the Rudbeckia family, and it's cut leaf coneflower, and mine are just now budding up and starting to bloom. The information about it said they grow 2 to 10 feet high, and mine have always been at least 8 feet. So when my clump gets a little bit more mature, maybe it'll reach 10 feet. And here's an actual photograph of one of the flower heads, and that forms a tuck spot. This just paper, blank space for writing, forms a little pocket which houses the map. Now when you do your field finds, you probably have your favorite places you want to go. But if you don't, you can imagine that you're going to Fox Pond Estates. And it's a hand-drawn map of all their trails. Really beautiful hand-drawn map. Very old, very vintagey. Just some old papers for you to do whatever you need to in the journal. Another nature sketch, a quick sketch of a dragonfly. This one's called Widow's Skimmer. And all of these are put in with pieces of tape, just like you would do if you were filling up your field notes. Okay, here's another vellum print of oak leaves. I did this watercolor many years ago, and I've put it in here in 2 parts. And it just simply says oak there. Writing spot. Another gorgeous print. And I'll list that person below. Plain papers, and you can see everything is stained and grungy. The centerfold forms a fold out on both sides. I left the space empty, but let's look at the outside first. These are some watercolor sketches of birds, not my watercolor sketches, but some that I found in an old magazine. And I mounted them on the belly band. And then, of course, if you're a true nature lover, you've got your some guides. You might not carry a whole book with you, but that's what you've got this time. So when you open this up, there's 2 pockets here, and let's look at what's in these pockets. The first thing is a specimen shade guide, and it's done in all shades of green, and the shades of green are marked from 1 to 13. And then they are also graded A, B, C. So when you find your specimen and you think it's closer, let's say to a number 7, and a little bit lighter, you would draw a little sketch of your specimen and then put 7B, because that's closest to the color that you thought it was when you found it. Because even if you take your specimen home, the color's going to change as it begins to dry up. In a field notebook, you also need measuring tapes to measure your specimens. So here's 2 little tape measures, one in inches and one in centimeters, so that you can make a note as to how big your specimen was when you found it. Another eco dyed tag, and this was a Queen Anne's lace, so I titled it right here. Excuse me. And in case you didn't know, carrots are also, Queen Anne's lace are also called wild carrots. And my Mennonite friends in the town I lived in for a long time told me that. There is such a thing as wild mustard also. I'd like to take a drive in the country and get a sample of that and put that on an eco print, as well as maybe a sketch. So that closes back up, and on this side, the pocket houses some little paper bags that I made just to hold specimens in case you have something you want to bring back home and mount it. And then this is just some of that beautiful sketch with eco print on the back, writing space. You can see there's plenty of space in this journal to write or to mount whatever you would want. So over here, another one of those sketches, and then another, I call them window framed or framed window envelopes. This one has nothing in it, but I made it out of counter cross stitch paper. So it looks very scientific. And again, everything is very grungy. I love grunge. Another nature sketch. I sketched this and did the original with colored pencil. You can carry colored pencils with you in your kit, or watercolors, or just graphite pencil to do your field sketches. And it's just a common cattail, grows in marshes and ponds, and there's only 2 varieties in the States, and that's broadleaf and narrowleaf. So that gets you started, give you some ideas of what to do with these pages. You could use this entire collection as just a journal, or you can continue on with the nature finds. An embossment of a tree, another of those same envelopes, and I stuck in just 2 prints of ferns in here. And then here's the other half of that oak printed on vellum. And on this side was the acorn caps, so I titled it right there. Honeybee, and then a couple old vintage pictures on a film strip of some honeybee related things. And then here's the other side of that little thing that formed a pocket. And I just simply took one of her pages and folded it up because it said notes, and then it has ledger print on the back so that you can just write. Okay, and here's the other half of that paper bag that forms pockets. And then on this side, the eco print was of blackberry brambles, the canes. So I titled it Highland Blackberry. It's related to the rose family. And there's the Latin name, which I won't even attempt to pronounce. More writing space. Oh, little tuck spot with that dragonfly wing drawing. And on this side, I did a little sketch of sedge, and this happens to be nutgrass sedge, and taped on there. Another film strip component with 3 different birds, very distressed, and then just some writing paper, beautiful paper from that Etsy seller. One of my blue jay feathers that I found, another dictionary snippet of a frog, and then here's another one of my watercolor prints on vellum, and this one is wild grapevine, and I did not know the variety, so I titled it as such. More writing, more beautiful prints from that Etsy seller, and then in this back pocket are your tags and your labels, so that you have a good supply of whatever you need, and then just another piece of writing paper. So you can see it has plenty of things in it for interest, but it also has plenty of blank spots too for you to finish out and make it your own. I do know that this print of this tag came from Artymaze, and a few of her other things in here too. Okay, so that's your actual journal. We'll lay it, we'll trade places here. We'll lay this over here. And this is what I call your Field Finds folder. So here's how it works. It's collaged on the front with a collection of just all kinds of things. This was an original watercolor that I had done of a wild grape leaf. And this is from that Etsy seller, and it's a columbine seed pod, so I titled it. There's a little sketch that I did of wild cucumber. And then this is a wild grape muscadine found August 17th. Grapevines start to deteriorate kind of early in the year. By the time fall comes, they're already all brown, withered, and gold and drying up. This forms a little pocket here, and I put this grungy little tag in it, and the eggs are a tuck spot. And I forgot to put something in there, but that grungy little tag fits right there. Here's the name of the folder. It is glued to the graph paper, but it's just on the front with a paper clip. So if you'd want to rename it and do something else with it, you could. I should have taken this elastic off. When you turn this over, the back is a cut that I did myself, a carving. I used that new synthetic product. I really liked how it turned out. But this is that wild cucumber vine. Of course, it has curlicues, and there's the prickly fruit right there. So, and it gives you the Latin name here. That forms a pocket, and then out of that comes a little file folder, and then I just stuck a few things, 2 things in there so you'd remember you have that space to work with. So let's turn her back over, and then when you open it up, now I know this is going to be a lot of sensory perception here, so let's take care of this first. I put an elastic band in here, like for a traveler's notebook, but I did not sew this paper pack together. I left them loose so that you could remove these papers and use them in the journal whenever and however you wanted to. So I'm going to take those out of the way for right now. And this is the Field Finds notebook. So on each side is a mirror duplicate of each other. And the first thing you do is flip it open, and there's a glassy or a vellum pocket here for you to slide little treasures in. And there's little tags, and I couldn't fill everything up or it'd get too fat, but I just put enough in here so you could see how it functions. So there's your first large pocket that you can work with. And then on this one is a belly band. So I stuck this tag and this vellum envelope right here. And directly behind that is another pocket, and you can do your little notes or drawings and mount them, whatever you want to do with that. So then that opens up, and that gives you a little pocket over here, and I put a tag in there. And then the same thing repeats itself here, almost. Another vellum, another belly band, and I had a little specimen of a hydrangea, so I mounted it on there. And then this is a pocket also, so we'll just leave that right there. And then when you open it this way, another pocket here, and here's a little specimen of a wild strawberry. So that just slips right in there. Now I'll stop here and say that all of this background in this folder is Tracy Fox. Her digital's called Silhouette because they're all of nature elements, so I use those. Now here I mounted an envelope and opens up, and then I stuck some little Artymaze, some of the things from her kit about mushrooms and ferns, stuck that in there. Then I created 3 tags. Everything is old, grungy, and mostly out of file folders. Can be slightly different, but it all lends itself to each other. So put them back in straight, and then we'll look at this side. Now, it is a mirror image of the other side, but there's a few different elements in here. So I'll show those to you. Here's your first little vellum pocket with a little file folder thingy here. And another one here. Homemade labels. I paper clipped them to the belly band. And then here's your next pocket. And just stuck a little tag in there so you'd remember where that was. When you open it, you have that short pocket with the tag in it, and then start your next leaflet. Again, another vellum pocket, belly band, vellum envelope stitched. And here's one of Nick the Booksmith's, one of her wildflower, I forget what kit that was from, but that can slide right in that pocket. And then when you open it up, another little tuck spot, which is some writing paper, some tear-off scraps that I had. On this side, the same thing. I won't even bother to open that, but the little windowed pocket, and then 3 tags. Let's see if I did anything different here. I don't think so. Little text spot. Okay, so there you have it. A field notes, field finder, nature lovers dream, I think. I don't know if there's anybody else out there that's as crazy about nature as I am. I found a piece of lichen in front of my house the other day after my son had done some power washing. And it was blue shield lichen, and one of the biggest pieces I had ever found. And gosh, you'd have thought it was Christmas. I was so excited. So we'll just put this paper clip back, and all that does is hold those pieces of paper in there until you get ready to use them. So you can see that you can use it as a normal journal. There's tons of writing space, but it has a lot of personality all its own. And so let's show you that. That's the Field Finders folder. And then here's the actual journal. And then again, the satchel. And I was so happy with this satchel. And I have to admit, my family just laughed and laughed when I made this butterfly net. But I looked up some vintage pictures, and it's pretty true, and of course scaled way back, and I used what I had, but it's just so fun. So if you can think of anything else I need to add to my field notebooks concept, just let me know. And there's your bag once again. All right, hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. And this will be on my Etsy site, or actually already is. And I'll put a link below. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.